What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we've got some brand spanking new Destiny 2 news, courtesy of the Bungie weekly update that has just gone live, revealing official information. And so, let's get started. Now, first things first, what's been going on this week for Destiny 2? Well, really not too much until yesterday. That's because yesterday Bungie released 2 developer insight articles detailing their plans for the future of Destiny 2. Now, if you want to know everything they talked about, I already did a video on that. It's linked right up above. But to summarize, the first article was about expanding modifiers and introducing Banes, essentially random buffs enemies can spawn with. In the background gameplay, you have the example of the nuclear Bane. If you don't kill this guy fast enough, there's a huge explosion, right? And this is supposed to mix up gameplay so that replaying activities over and over again feels more fresh. The other article was about raids and dungeons. So there's only going to be one new raid for 2025, like for that codename Frontiers era, but there's also going to be another new dungeon added with the second DLC. No dungeon pass this time, it just comes with a second DLC. They talked about their plans for every major update, refreshing the raid, including introducing new encounters. Dungeons are going to be expanded and have more loot, more akin to raids this time around. So some big changes there for sure as well. And overall, I would say both of these articles have the community divided. This is a whole nother topic, maybe for a separate video in the future, because there's just so many points on each side. But yeah, a lot of people feel like, okay, adding random annoying buffs to enemies isn't enough to make the Devil's Lair feel fresh for the billionth time you play it. Other people feeling like, yeah, on higher level content, you absolutely will need to account for Banes and they're going to make combat feel different. Same with the raid. Some people love how the raid is going to update as the year moves on. Other people are saying, well, that just means it's unfinished at launch. What do you mean you're adding a new encounter? Twitter was a firestorm after these articles, definitely. So again, I would recommend checking out my video if you are out of the loop. But let's move on from there to the brand new information within the TWAB. So first of all, we have a ton of new info on the upcoming dungeon. So as you can see right here, this is the promotional image for the new Vesper's Host, which is the name of the new dungeon coming on October 11th, which is the Friday after the release of episode Revenant. So here are the details you need to know about. First of all, this is the first ever dungeon with contest mode. So they say contest mode will be enabled for 48 hours, but normal mode will be available as soon as the first 3 teams clear the dungeon. You will need to be at 1985 power level to be at the cap through all encounters. And we have some entry requirements. You assemble a fire team of 3 players and start the Vesper's Host dungeon in contest mode from the planet system map. All fireteam members must own the Final Shape dungeon key and acquire the Rogue network from Spider in the Last City seasonal hub. So that also kind of reveals that Spider is going to be our main vendor for next season and Last City seasonal hub, not the Helm seasonal hub. That's kind of interesting. Then you have some completion criteria. Once the final encounter is complete, the fire team must loot the final chest or their finish may not be recorded. A team's official finish will be recorded when they loot the final chest. At least one member of the fire team must have completed and received a loot for every encounter and must be the first time completing the activity for all fire team members. So definitely a very unique system, especially for contest mode, and they talk more about it here. They say contest mode applies some very specific rules to raids and now dungeons. Enemies are more aggressive, encounters feature resurrection tokens, and some encounters will have an enrage mechanic that limits the number of phases or the time players have left to complete it. Also, character power does not provide an advantage above the recommended level. Those of you that triumph over this challenge during the first 48 hours after the dungeon launches will earn bragging rights, a special emblem, and the dungeon exotic. So they say, yes, it's a guaranteed reward during contest mode. You have plenty of time to prepare for what's to come and put together an incredible fire team. For those who are not interested in contest mode, you will not have to wait the full 48 hours to take your shot at the new dungeon. Normal mode will be enabled as soon as the first 3 fire teams have completed the dungeon. That is super interesting. We've never had anything like this for contest mode. So, you know, if the first 3 teams are done in 5 hours, then you can just hop in there fresh from normal difficulty and pound it out as quickly as possible. What I really want to know is what happens if you're midway through on contest and then suddenly normal is unlocked. If you back out and reload into that checkpoint, will it be normal or still contest? And also, like, does that mean you'll have to restart the entire dungeon on normal if you want to lower the difficulty, or can you start from your checkpoint? That's definitely some big questions that I hope Bungie does answer. Regardless, the prize potentially of having a guaranteed drop of the dungeon exotic is definitely a juicy one. I foresee some teams beating it on normal and then going back in to try to beat it on contest just to try to get that guaranteed dungeon exotic drop. And of course, your boy is going to be doing his best on contest mode, going for that exotic, all live on Twitch. Speaking of, there's also going to be the dungeon race on Twitch Rivals. So creators can sign up, and of course I absolutely will. And if you're watching one of the Twitch Rivals creators, which I should be, you have the chance to earn some exclusive rewards because there's going to be drops enabled. So as long as you connect your Twitch account with your Bungie account, you can earn this effortless flow emblem, which is watching at least 2 hours of any creator with Twitch drops enabled, and this is active between these times. And also you have this, which is broadcasting from the dark. So if you subscribe to any featured Twitch Rivals creator, you will get this emblem as well. So definitely earn some sweet emblems by watching the dungeon race. They also have join us for the Revenant Act 1 developer live stream. So they say Revenant is launching on October 8th, and we're excited to give a closer look at everything we've been working on. Tune in at October 1st at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is going to be the Tuesday, the next upcoming Tuesday, for our developer live stream, where we will share a detailed look at everything coming in the first act of Revenant, along with an early chat detailing some upcoming changes that will arrive with codename Frontiers. And guys, if you watch at least 15 minutes, this is the emblem you will earn. Moving on from there, guys, that's kind of it for the big new news in general. The next is a absolutely massive dive into PvP with the Strike Team. We do have some balancing changes, but they're all intended for PvP, so just some massive changes here. So let's get started here. First of all, they are going to say what to expect from Revenant. They say to set expectations, we will be relatively quiet during Revenant outside of some work on Trials of Osiris rewards and general sandbox spawn and map tuning. We are now working on a substantial overhaul of multiple PvP systems for Heresy, the episode after Revenant, and beyond, built on the knowledge we've gained from our experimentation over the last 6 months. We will share some small details and a selection of our goals below, but we will have more info for you later once the changes are more solidified. In the meantime, to help hold you over, we do have a handful of changes going live in Revenant that we can share. First of all, there's the reprised map Solitude. They say for Revenant, we're bringing back a fan favorite, a reprised version of Solitude. This updated version has some small changes to geometry and spawn locations to improve map flow, and has been set up to immediately drop in our competitive and 6v6 modes. We're going to hold off adding it to Trials for a bit while we verify the competitive integrity of the map in the live game. So new map coming next episode. They also have some updated UI features. We've made several UI changes that should help provide information more clearly during combat. To start, class icons will return, displaying in place of a guardian's rank on enemies. So you can see right here, you'll be able to know what class you're up against. After that, they've also added an assisted by callout to the death screen that will let you know when a person who defeated you was assisted by another guardian, so whether you're being team shot or not. And finally, they've updated the tombstone icon for your allies to show their tool of destruction in case you missed it in the kill feed. So you can see right here, like a guardian died here, and he also died from a hand cannon. I think that's going to be most useful for knowing if people died to heavy. If you didn't see someone pick up heavy, or you weren't sure if they died, you're like, okay, this guy over here has heavy. Moving on from there, they're updating the mercy rules, and you can see their explanation right there. After that, they have some competitive changes. First of all, they have reduced the variability of points granted based on the skill delta between two teams, and they've also changed the way the placement matches work to make it more accurately track towards your expected rank, and they have further explanations on both of those main goals. After that, guys, they have a big section on lobby balance. So they say, they talk a lot about what they were doing and some problems and all this stuff. They mess around with lobby balancing so often, and it never seems to be fully fixed. So we'll really just have to wait and see what is going on here, and you can read that if you want to. But hopefully lobby balancing will be better. Now, after that, they talk about the sandbox. So they say, we did have one note we missed last week. In Revenant, we are going to be placing a cap on the amount of crouch inputs you can enter per second to equalize hold and crouch with toggle crouch in terms of its behavior. This limit is something that can be tuned because of a tactical crouch or two during an engagement is an expression of skill, not something we want to discourage. We verified in our playtesting that our first pass was set so that it would be difficult to tell if any limit existed if you were crouching at a normal cadence. However, our goal is to reduce the amount of untargeted crouch spamming done either manually via macros or encountered while playing Crucible, and we can further change the value needed to prevent this behavior. Hunter Sweatlords in shambles, dude. You're gonna actually have to just hit your shots normally. I'm just kidding. That's from a salty casual right there, but that's actually pretty interesting. Definitely, I'm sure you guys have seen in the Crucible someone absolutely spamming the crap out of crouch to avoid being shot, and that's gonna limit that. After that, they have some primary weapons charts here. So the first one is going to be kills over expected displayed on the y-axis and percent of kills on the x-axis. They don't have a ton of outliers. Hand cannons are the clear favorite at high skill levels, but auto rifles and pulse rifles are both making a strong showing, and more niche primary weapons, SMGs, sidearms, and scouts are similarly clustered. And then they're actually, have the literal weapons themselves on this chart. So, in response to this meta, here are the buffs and nerfs they're making. Firstly, for the nerfs, adaptive hand cannons, base damage from 44.7 to 44.5, critical hit damage from 80.3 to 80.1, which slightly reduces the 3-tap range once damage fall-off has begun by about a meter. Very slight change there. Adaptive auto rifles, critical hit damage from 26.5 to 26.25, which reduces the forgiveness against high resilience tiers. High impact pulse rifles, crit damage from 40.1 to 39.6, which lowers the resiliency threshold to force 6 critical hits instead of 5 critical hits and 1 body shot to 5. After that, for buffs, adaptive submachine guns, base damage from 10.9 to 11.5, which is going to decrease the body shot time to kill, alright. Precision auto rifles, base damage from 19 to 19.4, critical hit damage 33.6 to 33.95. This reduces the nerf they received in Into the Light by around 50%. The high impact auto rifles, base damage from 22 to 23, critical damage from 40.1 to 41.4, which slightly increases forgiveness and range after damage fall off. Precision hand cannons, base damage from 40.4 to 45.3, critical hit damage from 70.25 to 70.2, which decreases the body shot time to kill only, does not mess with the headshot time to kill. Then you have the heavy burst hand cannons, base damage from 23.8 to 24, critical damage from 49.6 to 52.8, slightly increases forgiveness, and range after damage fall off, allows better interaction with damage boosts. So what that means is you're more likely going to be able to kill sooner if you have stuff like Rampage, etc. Then you have heavy burst pulse rifles. So the critical hit damage is going from 41.95 to RPM is increased to around 320, and that's going to decrease the optimal time to kill from 0.87 seconds to 0.8 seconds, which is one of the faster ones in the game. Aggressive scout rifles, critical hit damage goes from 91.1 to 91.8, which allows better interaction with damage boosts. Again, you'll need less of a damage boost to be able to kill one shot quicker. Then you have heavy and special weapons. So here's what they're doing. Trace rifles, they've increased the PvP ammo from 25 to 29. Sniper rifles, reduced camera roll flinch against players by 10%. And they say the Crucible heavy weapon meta is dominated by single roll, hammerhead, and adaptive machine gun with 4th times the charm and killing tally, which makes complete sense. 4th times gives you your ammo back, and then killing tally is a permanent damage buff. So they talk about not wanting to nerf just the hammerhead because it's just a good adaptive machine gun with a good roll, and you would have to start to nerf the perks to account for that. So here's what they're doing instead. For high impact machine guns, increased crit hit damage by 4%, and for heavy ammo grenade launchers, in PvP they've increased the direct impact damage by approximately 7% to 26%, depending on the blast radius stat, to make accurate fire more effective against guardians with overshields or damage resistance. And then for rapid fires, they've increased the impact and detonation damage by a further 7% to hopefully encourage people to use those more. Moving on from there, guys, Trials of Osiris is getting some changes, and specifically for Revenant, here's what they're doing. So during the next episode, they're currently planning on running trials with the following maps, with a handful of flex weeks slotted in throughout. Dissonance, you can read the maps right there. And they say, we are interested to hear your selection of the currently selected maps. So they want you guys to tell them, hey, this map is trash, this map is good, why not this map, etc. Now they say, for Revenant, we'll be introducing a newly buffed, stronger statted heavy burst hand cannon called Yesterday's Question, alongside a revision of the rocket launcher Tomorrow's Answer. So here's actually the perks they can get. For the Yesterday's Question, which is an arc heavy burst hand cannon, column 3, so the first perk column, air trigger, a redacted perk, so a brand new perk, 4th times, another redacted perk, dragonfly, rapid hit to the pain, column 4, desperate measures, head seeker is actually a pretty interesting one, eye of the storm, moving target, volt shot, vorpal weapon, and zen moment. Certainly the fact that this now is an arc hand cannon that can get 4th times plus vorpal weapon, that's actually like the PvE god roll, especially with the Lucky Pants for the Warden's Law. So now you can basically have a god roll Warden's Law in your energy slot, which is actually, this is really exciting news for PvE players. Then for the Tomorrow's Answer, column 3, air trigger, redacted, danger zone, envious assassin, impulse amplifier, another redacted tracking module. Column 4, bait and switch, bipod, chain reaction, cluster bombs, explosive light, frenzy, vorpal weapon. I mean, bait and switch is god tier. Combined with envious assassin, it could be decent. I'm really interested to see what these redacted perks are. Now they say they've also updated the post-game standard non-adept weapon reward. The weekly weapon now has a focused 50% chance drop rate compared to others, instead of being the only weapon that can drop. This way, even if the weekly weapon is not something you're interested in, you still have a chance to earn the other trials weapons. And we also have a couple of additional changes that are currently being tested, which are going to be increasing the Assyrian Cypher's cap, allowing players to have a chance to drop as a post-win reward on 7-win cards, and reducing the stratification of the fire team matchmaking to allow duos to match trios more often. We'll see how that works. And they have some future trials changes. Here's a sneak peek. So adding new aesthetic rewards to trials, including a new armor set for each class, and a new ship, Sparrow Ghost, and other exclusive emblem. Cool. Make the challenger pool less of an all or nothing experience that prioritizes flawless or bust gameplay. Lean on that we've started with the flawed card rewards to reward win streaks, making it feel like it's not a waste of time to play even if you fall flat at the gates. They want to improve the story of the flawless set of aesthetic rewards so that high-skilled players can flex appropriately. Seeing a player with a specific armor glow or a new Trials emblem should mean something special and not just be a generic trophy. However, for Trials to succeed, there needs to be something for everyone. And we want to bring additional players into Trials by offering an alternative experience, more like Iron Banner in terms of the loot chase, but for 3v3. The focus here is on making it rewarding to play and not necessarily reliant on almost entirely on wins to attract players who otherwise avoid the current iteration of Trials entirely because of the perceived high stakes nature. And they also want to update Dominion to be more in line with the modern sandbox. For example, we are experimenting with making the zone appear later in each round and increasing the time it takes to capture the zone, among other potential changes. And beyond, they say Trials isn't the only thing that's getting a major overhaul in Heresy. We're also making big changes to the way we organize and schedule our playlists, rebuilding our skill tracker system, and making some substantial updates to the way rank is rewarded in our competitive playlist. And for the sandbox, they say we are investigating additional Crucible-specific tuning for ability uptime. We do not have any details to share at this point, but they're looking into some Crucible-focused tuning for the Storm's Edge Super and the Knucklehead Radar exotic armor piece. So they also have a playlist reorganization you can see right here. And then for Iron Banner, they say we are planning to offer a more relaxed variant of Iron Banner with minimal matchmaking stratification and a focus on the less serious game modes like Fortress, Erupted, and an improved version of Tribute. We want to improve the Iron Banner experience, especially for casual and mixed fire teams, so they're investigating better sorting fire teams based on the skill variants present within them, so we can more effectively differentiate between actual highly skilled stacked fire teams and a casual mixed groups or clanmates playing together. And rewarding fire teams better in general to incentivize grouping up like we've begun to do with Trials. After that, you have some skill and rank changes. Just going to leave that there if you want to read that, guys, because it affects just competitive. And oh my goodness, it was a big update today. Now, Bungie actually ends here at the very end of the TWAB with some details about some future news. So they say we'll be back next week with a lot more details on Revenant, so you have the best understanding of what's to come, including one article on Wednesday focused on the artifact. Until then, prepare yourselves, blah blah blah. So usually they reveal the entire artifact, and often they do it as part of the Thursday TWAB or TWID. Now they're going to have a separate article on Wednesday. So that means Tuesday is going to be the full live stream reveal. Wednesday, the full artifact reveal likely. And then Thursday, yet another news article. Maybe we get some more information in that. But definitely going to be a packed week for news next week. And of course, make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell icon so you guys get all that news. Of course, I'll be making videos on all of that stuff. Guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.